The movie begins with a blurred close-up shot that gradually comes into focus, revealing a forest clearing where prisoners are being herded by Nazi soldiers. Amidst the chaos, Saul Auslander, a Jewish-Hungarian prisoner, is introduced. He works as a member of the Sonderkommando, a group of prisoners forced to assist in the operation of the Nazi death camps. Saul's face is impassive as he carries out his grim duties, leading new arrivals to the gas chambers. The camera stays tight on Saul, following his every move and capturing the horror and despair surrounding him. Saul continues his work with the other members of the Sonderkommando. People are being taken to the gas chamber. Saul then starts sorting through the belongings of the murdered prisoners. He heard the prisoners' cries and pleas standing by the door. The environment is chaotic and brutal, with the relentless machinery of the Holocaust operating in the background. Saul and the others then started cleaning the gas chambers and disposing of the bodies. Suddenly, Saul discovers the body of a young boy who miraculously survives the gas chamber. Soldiers arrived and ordered everyone back to work. One soldier approached a boy, covered his mouth and nose, and suffocated him. After the soldiers left, Saul carried the boy's body for an autopsy. He pleaded with the doctor not to perform the autopsy so that the boy could receive a proper burial. The doctor, who was also a prisoner, revealed that he could ensure a proper Jewish burial. Miklos declined, but allowed Saul 5 minutes alone with the boy before cremation that night. Saul returned to work with the other Sonderkommandos, searching the belongings of the deceased. He hoped to find something of the boys. Saul overheard Sonderkommando Abraham discussing an uprising with Oberkapo Biedermann. Biedermann wanted to first photograph the camp's horrors using a camera taken from the dead and smuggle the pictures outside to draw attention and help. Abraham told Saul about the renegade, a Greek rabbi who had lost his faith, and informed him where to find him. Saul decides to assist the resistance in exchange for their help with the burial. He approaches Abraham and Oberkapo to discuss their plan involving photographs. These photos are intended to document the atrocities within the camp and be smuggled out to alert the world. Oberkapo realizes they need a locksmith for their plan and offers his skills. Saul revealed that he was a watchmaker and could fix anything, including locks. After some skepticism and discussion, they agree to let Saul help. Saul, along with Mitek and other prisoners, goes outside under the pretense of fixing the lock on a shack. While Saul pretends to work on the lock, a fellow prisoner hides inside and attempts to take photographs of a cremation in a fire pit. However, the smoke obscures the view, making it difficult to get clear pictures. Realizing this, Saul decides to enter the shack himself and take control of the camera, hiding it on his person. The fellow prisoner questions Saul's actions, but Saul silently walks away. Suddenly, soldiers arrive and force the group to the ground, pointing their guns at them. They search the toolbox but only find the tools they were using for work, so they allow the prisoners to return to their tasks. As they were fixing the locks, Saul saw a car taking another Sonderkommando unit and sneaked in to join them. He got into the car, which started moving. The prisoners were taken to a riverbank where ashes were being dumped into the river. Saul started walking around and approached a man, asking if he was the renegade he needed for a burial. The man refused to help, dismissing Saul's request. Desperate, Saul began to sing a blessing, but the man quickly covered Saul's mouth to prevent others from hearing. In response, Saul threw the man's shovel into the water. The rabbi, in desperation, jumped into the river to retrieve it. Saul pulled him out, and the commotion drew the attention of the SS guards. Both Saul and the rabbi were then taken to the SS commandant of the unit. They started getting interrogated by the SS commandant, who demanded to know what had happened. When asked who could explain, Saul attempted to communicate that the shovel had fallen into the water and that the man had tried to retrieve it. The commandant, frustrated with the language barrier, sought someone who could translate from Hungarian. Finally, Saul managed to convey that the shovel was now safe. Noting Saul's sudden ability to speak German, the commandant sarcastically commented on the elegance of the Hungarian language. The renegade was ordered back to work, while Saul was taken away, returning to his duties under the oppressive watch of the guards. One prisoner saw Saul and noticed he wasn't in that unit. Saul then told him he had something in his shoes and took him to the side. He then gave him a tool. The man asked where he was from, and Saul told him he came from Biedermann's commando. The man then said, "I'll come and visit then soon." At night, an attendance check was done, and the prisoners were led to their gas chambers. Saul decided to slip away, and Abraham approached him, asking where he was going. Saul responded that he had something to take care of. Although Abraham insisted on following, Saul was determined to go alone. Saul sneaked into Miklos's office, but failed to find the boy's body. As he was searching, soldiers walked in and found him standing there. When questioned, Saul claimed he had come to clean. The soldiers began to mock and make fun of him before finally kicking him out of the room. After going out, he asked another prisoner where the bodies went from the autopsy room, but the guy, noticing he was from the day shift, told him to get out instead of helping him. Saul then went to the gas chamber and started looking for the body, along with the bodies that were being burned, but there was no success. Abraham approached Saul asking what he was doing down there, but Saul remained silent. Meanwhile, the other prisoners were busy collecting money to bribe the guards in exchange for receiving a package. Saul then confronted Miklos, who reassured him that the boy's body had been hidden for safety. Miklos explained that he had to hide the body from the doctors and that it needed to be autopsied and documented. Saul and Miklos then went to the autopsy room, where Miklos pointed out the boy's body lying on a chair. Saul carefully took the body, placed it in a sack, and brought it back to his barrack. Abraham came to Saul and informed him that they were getting more weapons that night and to be ready by morning. Saul responded that he needed to find a rabbi. Abraham reassured him that he would help find a rabbi after the weapons were secured, but he needed Saul's assistance in the meantime. Saul, feeling the tension between them, noted that Abraham hadn't cared much for him before, to which Abraham bluntly replied that he still didn't. Despite their strained relationship, they recognized the necessity of working together for their respective goals. Then Saul and Abraham joined the other prisoners to discuss the plan. As they were talking, a car arrived to transport them, and they all lined up. SS Commandant Maul ordered the day shift to work, and the prisoners complied. Saul went to clean a room where the commander was meeting with other authorities. He overheard them discussing the grim logistics of their operations. They had 1,000 prisoners left to treat and expected 3 times more that night. The commander detailed the gruesome process, pulling ashes after 2 rounds, ventilating every 12 minutes, and ensuring everything was washed and disinfected afterward. He emphasized that everything had to be completed by dawn. The commander put Oberkapo in charge of the process. After the meeting, SS Commandant Maul ordered Oberkapo to write up a list of 70 names, which led Oberkapo to fear that his unit would soon be killed. Saul went back to the gas chamber and resumed his work. Meanwhile, Oberkapo disclosed to Abraham the alarming information about the list of names he was asked to write. He confirmed Abraham's fears, stating that they were next and that 70 names were needed by tomorrow. Abraham questioned who would retrieve the package, and Oberkapo volunteered, but Abraham insisted that he needed to stay. Instead, he suggested taking Saul, as Ella knew him. Abraham then instructed Saul to head to the women's camp and pick up a package of gunpowder from a prisoner named Ella. Saul, along with 2 others, began to head out when they were stopped. The SS commandant questioned their departure, insisting that all the men were needed for work. Oberkapo quickly explained that his men were exhausted, and the belongings were piling up to the ceiling, necessitating their transport to the warehouses. After a brief consideration, the commandant allowed the others to go, while instructing Oberkapo to stay behind. With the commandant's permission, Saul and the 2 others continued forward, heading towards the women's camp to retrieve the crucial package of gunpowder from Ella. They finally reached the women's prison and got inside, where the women were busy with their work. Ella, who recognized Saul, called him by name. She took out the package of gunpowder and handed it to him, which he quickly hid. Upon his return, Saul saw Jews being transported and asked where they were going. He was told they were being taken to the pits because the furnaces could no longer handle the volume. Determined, Saul looked for a rabbi among a line of newly arrived Hungarian Jews who were being led into the woods for execution. He started asking if any of them were rabbis or knew one. He found a rabbi, but as he was taking him back, a soldier intervened and put the rabbi with the others destined for the pits. Saul managed to find another rabbi and gave him his clothes. Mistaking him for a regular prisoner, the soldiers herded the rabbi with the others to be burned, but another Sonderkommando came and saved him. Saul quickly dressed up again and rejoined the others. A Frenchman named Braun then approached Saul, convincing him that he was a rabbi. Saul, eager to fulfill his mission, told Braun that he would help him bury his son. He disguised Braun as a Sonderkommando and managed to sneak him into the camp. In the camp, the other prisoners questioned why Saul had brought Braun, and he explained that Braun was a rabbi. The camp's rabbi criticized Saul for not coming to him first, but Saul reminded him that he had asked before, and the rabbi had only been willing to say the prayers, not perform the burial. Back in his room, Saul showed Braun the boy's body and asked for instructions on how to clean it properly. He began washing the body with water. Abraham then came to Saul asking where he had been. Saul explained that he had been taken to the pits. Abraham asked about the package, and Saul realized that he had lost it during the chaos in the woods. Another man arrived inquiring about the package. When Abraham told him that Saul had lost it, the man angrily hit Saul in the stomach before leaving. During further questioning, Saul claimed that the murdered boy was his illegitimate son, an assertion that Abraham dismissed as untrue. After everyone left, Saul began trimming Braun's beard. The next day, Saul and Braun were digging a grave for the burial when a man tried to stop them, claiming the spot as his. Their effort was interrupted when the prisoners were taken to a room. Saul approached Abraham and insisted he had to take care of his son, admitting the boy was not from his wife. Abraham doubted Saul, stating that he had no son. Suddenly, soldiers arrived and took Obercapo away. The prisoners were then summoned back to the crematorium to work, where they discovered that Obercapo and his unit had been murdered. The Sonderkommando prisoners initiated an uprising, with explosions and gunfire erupting as they sabotaged the camp and attempted to escape. Saul insisted on proceeding with the burial and told Abraham to let him go. Abraham rallied the other prisoners and they attacked the SS guards, sparking the rebellion. During the commotion, Saul retrieved the boy's corpse and escaped to the woods with Braun and a few other prisoners. They reached their destination by a river, and Saul prepared to bury the boy. As they were about to begin, Saul asked Braun to recite the Kaddish, but Braun's inability to do so revealed him as a fraud. Nevertheless, they pressed on with their task. When the guard's approach became audible, Saul attempted to carry the body across the river, but he lost his grip and the body slipped away. Rabbi Frankel pulled Saul out of the water as the corpse floated downstream. Exhausted and heartbroken over the loss, Saul was dragged into the woods. The prisoners sought refuge in a shed within the forest, where they began to discuss plans to join the Polish resistance. During this tense moment, Saul noticed a young peasant boy peering into the shed, and, for the first time in the story, he smiled. The film concluded with the boy running away, only to be caught and silenced by an SS officer. The officer eventually let the boy go, who then fled into the woods, with the ominous sound of gunfire echoing behind him. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.